I think the claims that millionaires are going to leave our state are like super overblown, and if, the ones that leave, like, bye.
America, Seattle socialist mayor just told the city job creators to leave, and they're actually doing it. But here's the part that she completely missed. The people walking out the door right now are not all millionaires. The CEO of a Seattle camera company said it himself. He's not a millionaire. He's leaving because the total cost of running a business in Washington has become completely impossible for regular business owners to absorb. When you wave goodbye to people paying bills, somebody else picks up the tab. And in Seattle, that somebody is you.
And what we've seen is what we actually feared. A collapse in business confidence has continued in our state.
What is up, guys? Tyson DeLaCruz here. Thank you so much for rocking with me. March 11th, 2026, the Washington State Legislature passed a 9.9 income tax on every dollar earned above $1 million. Governor Bob Ferguson signed it. Mayor Katie Wilson celebrated it. And within 24 hours, active home listings statewide shot up 64%, you guys. The real estate market reacted before the ink could even dry. But here's what the media is not explaining: why the reaction was so fast. The millionaire tax was not the last straw in Seattle. If you've been following this channel for a while, you know why. It was the final straw, landing on a pile already stacked freaking sky high here. Washington already had a 7% capital gains tax, already had the nation's highest estate tax. Seattle already had its jumpstart payroll tax, which increased again in 2026, plus restructuring business and occupation tax on top of all of it. Layer all those things together with the new income tax, and you're looking at a combined top marginal rate in Seattle that could clear almost 50%. Potentially here, you guys, the highest effective tax burden on business owners anywhere in America. When the bill passed, people who do math for a living had already done it before it actually passed. Watch what the people on the ground are reporting right now.
Nearly a quarter of businesses are now considering leaving the state. That's according to a report from the Association of Washington Business. It found the state's employers are growing more pessimistic about the direction of the economy and looking to exit the state because of the rising tax burden.
1/4 of Washington's businesses are considering leaving. The mayor looked at it on camera and said, bye, 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 bye. Baby, bye, bye, bye. She wasn't talking to absentee billionaires. She was talking to the employee base of her own city here. Now watch what happened in the days right after the bill signing. Not a tech founder here announcing that he's moving his yacht somewhere else. Working class people with working jobs.
How much do they want to tax millionaires?
They want to tax 9.9% on every dollar made over $1 million. And it's going to happen. The bill is headed to the governor's desk, and he said, quote, "The millionaire's tax will apply to less than 0.5% of Washingtonians, but make life more affordable for millions."
Rise Baking is headquartered in Minnesota. They didn't hate Washington. Their Kent facility had been running for years. They're looking at their Utah location. They ran the numbers that the bill passed, and Utah won. Washington lost 112 jobs by August 2026. Utah gained 170. Rise Baking never explicitly blamed the millionaire tax in a statement. It said the Kent closure was made after careful consideration. But here's a CEO that did say it out loud, and his words are absolutely more damning to Washington than any Rise Baking statement could say. Mark Barros runs Moment, a Seattle-based mobile photography company founded in 2014. He announced the entire company is moving to Wyoming. Then he posted publicly, "I'm not even a millionaire affected by this tax, but when you add up all the costs for running a business in Washington, we cannot afford it." Not the income tax, not the millionaire threshold, the total stack here. Washington's digital advertising tax alone hit Moment with $200,000 in new annual costs overnight. Barros and his company are not wealthy enough to absorb that, so he made the smart decision and he moved. And when business owners who are nowhere near millionaire status can't afford to stay, the tax environment has moved past targeting the rich and started eating the businesses underneath them. Howard Schultz built Starbucks in Seattle across 4 decades. He announced that he's moving to Florida. The company most associated with Seattle's brand just redirected $100 million and 2,000 new jobs to Nashville. Not Seattle, Nashville, because Tennessee doesn't have state income tax, a capital gains tax, an estate tax, and a jumpstart payroll tax.
It's possible that people will decide, I have multiple places that I can start my business. I was thinking of Seattle, but I'm going to decide to go elsewhere.
I think the claims that millionaires are going to leave our state are like super overblown. And if, the ones that leave, like, bye.
You do need to worry about what the business climate is like and, what's the narrative about your city or your state when it comes to economic development.
A Seattle University economist, not a conservative think tank here, called a 9.9% rate standing out in a way that sends the wrong signal to every business owner evaluating where they're going to plant roots. Mark Boris already proved him right in real time.
Washington State's strong credit rating is under threat. Moody's recently downgraded the state's financial outlook from stable to negative.
They looked at Washington's books, the dependency on reserves, the structural spending that outplaces the revenue, and they issued a negative outlook on it. And the state treasurer told you exactly what happens when the rates drop further. IRS data confirmed this pattern was already building before March 2026. Washington lost $500 million in taxable wealth between 2022 and 2023. When the capital gains tax first kicked in, that was the first wave of all of this. The millionaire tax was the second wave of all of it. The full financial impact of what was signed in March will not show up on any data charts until 2028 when the tax actually takes an effect here. They're watching the flight accelerate here in real time. And obviously they haven't felt what happens when the tax bill actually arrives. Seattle doesn't have to wait till 2028. Office Tower's already showing where the road leads.
According to the Puget Sound Business Journal, the company is trying to cut its average office vacancy this year from 31% to a little less than 23%, which could be a purge of millions of square feet of office space.
Amazon's own Seattle offices are already at 31% vacancy. The company's response is not to fill those desks. It's to eliminate millions of square feet of office space entirely here. And you're probably asking, where is Amazon focusing its real estate growth? Bellevue, on the east side, not in Seattle.
Seattle's office vacancy rate was the highest in the entire nation, reaching around 27%. That's according to a report from the online real estate platform Commercial Cafe.
I think that you ask anyone about the difference between Bellevue and Seattle, and there is a difference. Seattle has some problems, especially in the downtown core. I have heard commercial real estate professionals say that Seattle lags because Governor Inslee kept the economy shut down for a year too long.
Never bounced back from pre-pandemic levels. That, my friends, is not a recession forecast. That is a structural collapse forecast here. Absolutely demolished and nuked. And this assessment came before the March 2026 tax added more pressure on situations already described as a permanent decline.
35% of Seattle's office and retail spaces are empty.
We are at a fragile point, and I think it's noteworthy that we have not grown jobs in the last 3 years.
The CEO of the Downtown Seattle Association runs the organization that advocates for downtown businesses. He's not a Republican operative here. He looked at the cameras and said, "We've made it too expensive and we've made it too difficult." He's describing his own city government as the problem here. Seattle lost more than 13,000 jobs in 2025. 13,000 jobs in 2025. And that happened before the millionaire tax. At the same time, a new 5% social housing tax on employee compensation above $1 million kicked in. Tax layers on top of tax layers like a 7-layer dip. And the jobs moving to Bellevue, which is 12 miles away and carries absolutely zero of the Seattle extra cost. That's not economic competition. That is a city, you guys, slowly evacuating itself into the suburbs next door. Amazon Seattle buildings have collectively lost $3.7 billion in assessed property value since 2022. The Doppler Tower and the Meeting Center alone dropped 62%. The Day One Tower and the Spheres lost 59%. Those are billion-dollar losses on the city's property tax payroll, not net accounting errors. When a building, you guys, was assessed at $500 million, gets reassessed at $200 million, the city collects taxes on the $200 million. The gap in the tax revenue gets filled somewhere else. That burden shifts to the renters and homeowners, the regular Seattle residents who can't move to Bellevue and cannot afford to leave the city is now subsidizing the collapse that progressive tax policies built. The people here making survival decisions at the smallest business levels are already feeling the pressure.
And I see this every single day on the ground where businesses are making survival decisions right now. Everything that raises cost is their make or break decision, whether they should just continue pouring into the economy or they should just shut down and find something else.
Yeah, this is a statement, you guys, at least in my opinion, this statement should stop every city council member cold in their tracks. And the government's concrete response is to propose taxing the empty buildings.
Concerningly, now 17% of respondents say they're actively being recruited by economic development organizations in other states to move to those states.
That 17% being actively recruited is a number that nobody is discussing loud enough here. The states are running economic development campaigns specifically targeting Washington employers right now. Tennessee is offering, Texas is offering, Florida is offering, Washington is taxing them out of there. And 91% of the survey responses are pausing expansion absolutely entirely. That is not a hesitation here, you guys. That is a work stoppage on investment. The next question, at least in my opinion, is completely obvious. When you ask the mayor directly, what does she say?
That straightforward public policy question of Seattle's Mayor Katie Wilson.
I'm sorry, I specifically said to keep it on topic today.
Is interrupted by a junior city staffer.
A low-level city utility liaison stepped in front of a reporter and told them to keep on the topic. The mayor did not correct her staffer. She let a junior employee run interference on a yes or no policy question about surveillance cameras in her own city. That tells you everything you need to know about what this mayor does and doesn't have an answer for. She said bye, bye, bye to job creators and let staffers say not now to reporters. She halted a scheduled homeless encampment removal in the Ballard hours right before crews were supposed to arrive and sweep that thing up because she needed to, quote unquote, review the strategy. And the Seattle Police Officers Guild has alleged that her administration issued a directive to stop arresting for open air drug use, switching to diversion recommendations instead. That is the mayor managing a city where businesses are fleeing, towers are sitting completely empty, and both major credit agencies are flagging the entire state as a financial risk.
I feel like we are in an emergency situation now. It might not look that way on the surface, but it very much is so.
Earlier this month, Fox 13 asked Mayor Katie Wilson about the squeeze businesses are facing.
So, we're going to be working with our Office of Economic Development, other city departments, and continuing the work that I was doing during the campaign of talking with small business owners and really figuring out what is that suite of policies and programs that the city can advance to make it easier to start and run a small business in Seattle.
Suite of policies. The towers, you guys, are 35% empty. Small business owners are making survival decisions. Moody's issued a negative outlook on Seattle, and the mayor's concrete answer is, we're figuring out what type of suite of policies we're going to use. Meanwhile, her actual proposal for empty buildings is to fine the property owners for having empty buildings. Mayor Wilson proposed a vacancy tax, a financial penalty on commercial building owners whose spaces sit unoccupied. The same spaces that are empty because her city's own cost environment drove the tenants out of the city. The Downtown Seattle Association warned directly that the proposal would push even more companies over to Bellevue. Seattle's policies drove the businesses out. The businesses left. The buildings are empty. The values collapsed. The property tax base shrank, and the proposed solution is to charge landlords for vacancies that the city policies created. That, my friends, is not governance. America, here's the part that gets buried in all the political noise. The millionaire tax was signed on March 2026, but it doesn't take effect until 2028. Every business owner evaluating Wyoming right now, every wealthy resident already shopping real estate in Idaho, every employer quietly calling for legal counsel, they're responding to a signal, not the actual bill yet. The absolute real financial shock here hits in 2 years. Washington is watching the preview and calling the audience's reaction overblown. This is the exact same playbook Chicago ran before its $1.14 billion deficit became a headline that nobody could ignore. Tax until the producers leave, watch the revenue drop to oblivion, raise taxes on whoever's left, and blame the people who left for actually leaving. When both major credit rating agencies, the Employer Association and a downtown business CEO, all use the word emergency in the same month, there was no version of this story where the mayor waving goodbye was a smart move here. One state's goodbye is another state's economic development campaign. Tennessee is already running one. Let me know what you think about this. Drop it down in the comment section down below. Smash the like button if you kindly would. Share, subscribe, and as always, guys, I'll catch you on the next one.